Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be talking about how to remove the primer pocket crimp if you have one. If you bought Lake City brass like I did, or military brass, bulk brass, whatever, it probably has one of these two crimps. Or if you bought something like Starline brass here, it does not have a crimp. So if you happen to buy Starline brass or you're following along and not using these, you can go ahead and skip this video really and move on to the next. But if you buy Starline brass, Hornady brass, Lapua brass, Peterson brass, etc., all of those will not have a crimp, which is really nice. The downside is that this brass is generally more expensive than these two. You can buy these in bulk for $500, really pretty cheap. So this is a pretty quick step, to be honest with you, and it's not that big of a deal. The reason it has a primer pocket crimp is so the primers do not fall out when they're in use in the service. So they obviously are, reliability and functionality is the utmost importance, so that's why they have it. In our case, not only do we probably don't need it, but we can't even insert another primer until we remove this crimp. The most two common ones that I've seen is this 4-segment ring crimp, I think it's called, and just a ring crimp. It might be a little harder to tell, but you can kind of see this little inset ring there, and that is the crimp. It's a little more subtle than this 4-segment ring. You might see others similar with like a 3 ring or whatever, but I haven't seen those in person. I've just seen these two out of the bulk brass that I've got. But I'm gonna go ahead and move this Creedmoor brass aside since we're not talking about it anymore. So yeah, that's basically what you're looking for. I've also had some federal ammo that has a crimp on it for some reason. So there are some civilian, I'll say, manufacturers or brass or companies like Federal, off-the-shelf brass you can buy, I should say, just that will have a crimp. So if you're going to reload that, just watch out for that. Just make sure you're checking the bottom of it real quick to see if you have a crimp or not. More than likely, you won't. It's pretty uncommon unless you buy this stuff. Anyway, so what I want to move on to next is going about how we remove this crimp. Reveal a drill. Yes, high tech. No. So what I like to actually buy is this Lyman kit thing. I don't know what they call it, like a multi-tool thing. I can't remember what it's called, but what it has is all these bits. And I'll get to this piece in a second that I bought separately. But it has some primer pocket cleaners in it, and it has both large and small. Let's see if I can get all this to focus real quick. Sorry about that, I'm always fighting this camera. Here we go. So it has the primer pocket cleaners, large and small, which we won't need, and it also has the crimp removers. Now, pay attention to which one you have. If you have a large, dang, can't get this to focus. If you have a large primer pocket or a small, you're really not one to focus with me, are you? Oh well. So yeah, large and small. So pay attention to which one you got. If you're loading for 223, you're going to be using the small, like I will be. So I'm just going to set that aside and put these somewhere. So of course you can use this tool as it's intended, which is by threading this in and then removing the primer pocket crimp, or the crimps by hand. But try doing that 250 times plus. And if you don't have feeling in your hand anymore, I would understand. So we're not going to do it that way. We are going to just toss that over there and never look at it again. What we are going to look at is the little coupler that I got. So this is just an 832 thread, female to female. So what I use this for is chucking in the drill. And the reason I got this is just because I don't really want to damage the threads for this. So I just thread it in here, like so. And then I put this in the drill. And in that way, I can do a lot of these without, well, with less cramp in my hands. Crimps give you cramps. So let's just go ahead and chuck this into the drill. I probably need to put this on the drill, so not that it matters. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove the 4 style crimps. So let's get to it. This may be a little difficult at first. It may have some resistance, so you might have to fight with it a little bit. Or it can be on the reverse. I swear I've used a drill before, don't worry. And I notice it helps if you give it a little bit of spin like that. And that's kind of, let me go and switch to the top view. This is what you're going to be looking for, is a nice smooth bevel. Just like that, really shiny. There we go. Might be a little hard to see, but you could probably see. There you go, about like that. So that's what you're looking for. So when you give these a turn, it just kind of helps settle in a little bit, and you'll feel, especially if you're doing these by hand, you'll feel it smoothing out a little. Now I'll go ahead and do the one with the ring type crimp, and these can actually be a little more stiff and harder to get started. So let's go and see this one as well. There we go, just like that, and the crimp is removed. So as you can see, you could tell where some of the crimp, or not the crimp remains, but where the remains of that 4-ring style was, but it's no longer there. So we can safely seat a new primer in there without damaging our precious primers, especially in early 2021. It is basically gold, so we don't want to damage those. It really sucks. There's also another method of removing a crimp, which I will talk about. And I'll bring that tool over here. Oh, right behind me. So it is the RCBS Primer Pocket Swaging tool. I don't really use this. And the reason is because I don't know when the crimp is removed. It's just by feel. I have had okay luck with it. So what the difference is between swaging and reaming that we just did is reaming obviously removes the material. It just gets rid of it and puts a nice bevel on it. Swaging just pushes that material aside and kind of also uniforms the primer pocket too, which is at the same time, which is kind of nice. Not that that really matters. So I will show you how to use this. I may or may not have success, but I'll guide you through it just in case you're interested in using this instead of a reamer. If you do use the reamer, you might want to put this in a tumbler or wipe down the cases real quick, because if you still have case lube on it, it could be really slick, or put on gloves. So that's just a little tip for you. But I will go ahead and get my camera set up for setting up the swaging tool and show you how it works, and maybe we'll have success with it. So I'll be right back. For those of you who are interested in the swaging method, I'm going to show you that next. I haven't had a great success with this die particularly. I can never seem to get it to go all the way. It seems kind of finicky. The reason I say that is sometimes when I go to seat primers, it seems a little tough, and I feel like I might be damaging the primers, which especially now is not a great time to be damaging primers, considering they do not exist anymore in the world. So yeah, I don't really use this tool. I just happened to buy it to give it a try a while back and used it a few times, never used it again. If you are interested in swaging versus reaming, I would look at the Dillon bench swaging tool. I don't know what it's called, but it's really good apparently from what I've heard, and it's also a lot quicker. So if you are looking at doing a lot of brass, a lot of especially Lake City type brass, you'll be able to go through this pretty quick on that one. I think you can pick this up for around $30. It's been a while, and I think the Dillon was around $70 or $80. So the Dillon's definitely more expensive, but I think that's the way to go. I would show you that, but unfortunately I do not have it, so we're stuck with this. So what you get with the swaging tool is 2 different size rods, and I think they call these case strippers. You get 2 different sizes of those, and you also get this little base here, as well as the die body itself. So these are for large and small primer sizes. We are of course going to be using the small today since we're loading 223. So I'll show you how this is supposed to be put together. So I'm going to move aside all the large components there. Yeah. So what we're looking for is, if you see this little indentation here, it might be kind of hard to tell, but what we're going to do is align that with the bottom flush with the case body. So basically it should be sitting inside around something like that. Yeah, something around like that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to thread this from the bottom up, so almost kind of reverse. Like so. If I remember right, I think it's supposed to be the top part. Let me look. I have the documentation over there because it's been a while. It's hard to see. It looks like they're showing it almost near top. So, okay. Maybe I should go up a little bit. About like that. So, probably hard to see, but yeah, probably something like that. That's probably good enough. So then we're going to take the nut that they included. We're going to have taper side down. So it's going to screw on like this. I'm just going to put a little pressure on this rod. Hand tighten it first, then just give it, oops, oh, that's not fitting on there. Let's give that a little good tighten. So that way that doesn't move. So now we have the small rod for the small primers fit into the die body. We're also going to take our case stripper, the small size of course, and we'll put that in our press. So it just slides in like any traditional shell holder, like so. And one nifty trick I will show you is if you're using the Lee Challenger press as well, take the two priming arms that are included with the press and pull them out. So what we're going to do is, since this isn't designed for the Lee Challenger, which has a small size ram, it's meant for I think a 1-inch size or so, a larger ram like the RCBS has. This won't quite fit, especially on the Challenger. So we're gonna use these, and I'll show you. So watch what happens if I put this on here. Yeah, not a fun time. So what we don't want happening is when this case is sitting on here, we don't want it shearing off to the side like that. We kind of don't want it bending unevenly on the primer pocket. So that's why that's not good. Here's where these two little primer arms come in handy. So we're just going to set it in like this around the press, and watch this. It's not perfectly straight, but it's mostly there. So you may have to adjust these as you go along because they might slide around, but neat little trick I found. So now what we're going to do is just barely thread this in to the press itself. Then I'm going to show you, I'm going to take the 4-ring type crimp here, and I'm going to use this one for demonstration and see if we can get this thing to where we want it. So let me switch back to press view real quick. There we go. So what we're going to do is thread down this die until we feel it, the rod touch or hit contact to the bottom of the case. So you may have to wiggle this case up first, but since it's so high, I'd probably screw it down a little bit more. You may not be able to feel it because you don't want to dent that case neck, especially after you've resized these. There we go. So let's get it sitting on that rod. We're going to let the handle drop so that way we can start threading this on until we feel contact. Right about there. Now what we want to do to start, and what they say, is to lower this down, and we're going to give it about 1/4 of a turn. So probably something like that. I'm going to go ahead and tighten. Where did I set? Yeah. Ah, here it is. Go ahead and tighten my lock ring. and we'll give this a go. We probably will not have enough pressure. So again, feed the case, then bring it up. Because if you dent these necks, then you're probably going to have to get rid of the case. So give a good pressure. Yeah, as you can tell, that quarter turn didn't do anything. Like, there's still a lot there. I don't know if I can zoom in anymore and see. There we go. There's still a lot there. So we are going to have to go probably quarter turn more. I think I'm going to go a full turn, to be honest. Maybe I'll go 3/4. I backed it out a quarter turn. So I'm doing 3/4 return instead of full. And we'll give it pressure. That was a little more like it, but I still don't think it was enough. See what you think. Hold on a sec. Let me take a look at this for myself. I'm seeing a bit of a bevel, but on this I would probably go just a bit more. So I'm going to give it a half a turn. And let's give it some pressure. Let's see what we got. Okay, now I can't see it, so I'm gonna look here. Okay, I might go a quarter turn more, to be honest with you. There we go. See if you could see anything there. I can't really see it, so I'm just kind of showing it to the camera. That's probably pretty good. So it looks like that aggressive crimp is well removed. Now, the only thing about this versus reaming is you'll still have these rough edges, but that's not really on these 4 ring crimps. It's not really a big deal, but yeah. So let's try just the ring crimp here and see what we get. I honestly could probably back out the die even just a little bit, because you could probably see a lot of flex, especially on this cheap Lee press. But you have to put a good deal of pressure on it. Oops. There we go. When it takes a little bit of pressure on the upstroke to get the case unwedged, that's when you know it's probably doing its job. So you could take a look at that, see if you see anything. Now let me take a look. Oh yeah, that one's really good. So that one has actually a really nice bevel, and I actually like this one. This one's really good. So let me put them side by side for you. Let's see if you could take a look at anything there and see if you see anything. I don't know if you will, but that is primer, or that is swaging with the primer pocket swaging tool by RCBS. I actually was pretty impressed by the result, especially on the ring crimp on the left side here. Like, that isn't so bad. To me though, it's a bit slower than reaming. But if you can get consistent results, yeah, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe I'll try it again in the future, with at least with 223 brass, with stuff that's a little lighter weight. But anyway, that is primer pocket swaging. So the next step will be trimming, which is everybody's fun and favorite part of reloading. There are many different ways to trim, so I'll be going over that, and I hope to see you in the next video. Until next time.